This is Chuck Farrell from Skull 13, and you're listening to the Tim O and Harley Show.
Welcome to the Tim O and Harley Show.
Thank you for listening to the Tim O and Harley Show. I am Tim O. Over there is my partner in mind crime, Mr. Ben Harley. Say hello, Harley.
What is happening, people?
Ben Herbie the Love Bug Harley. How the hell are you?
Hey, good. Wasn't he number? Was it 56, Tim O? Was that his number?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I liked Herbie the Love Bug.
Me
Thank
too.
you, Tim O. Thanks for, lumping me in there. I do. That's okay. That's a good one.
I'm pretty sure our friend Danny Hicks's friend Bruce Campbell, I think, was in one of those movies.
Was he really?
I'm pretty sure he was. Yeah, you can look up IMDb and prove me wrong if you want. And I'll be wrong. Yeah, but still,
was
I think
there one with Lindsay Lohan? Didn't they redo one with her? In
yeah, I kind of thought it was the same one.
That might be it.
And I could be wrong. Could be wrong. It just kind of popped up in my head. And it's kind of funny, Harley. I've realized that I actually have forgotten a hell of a lot more than I've ever known.
Yeah, I used to know a lot of stuff, Tim. It just keeps seeping out my ears because there's just too much information.
I know.
It's just too much.
I know.
I know I got a big brain and all. But.
Mine's so big, stuff falls out the sides, falls out the vents on the sides, I guess. I'm not sure. But
for some reason, we're only allowed to use so much of our brain. I don't know why we have so much if we're only allowed to use a little portion of it. I don't know, Tim.
Stupid nature. Shit.
Stupid, yeah.
I tell you, no, even at when I was at Phantom Fest with our good friend, Mr. DVD Bob Slendorn, a couple weeks ago, I had a guy come up. People were asking questions. Like I told one guy, I think I might have even mentioned this in the show, but I'll mention it again anyway. A guy came up. And he was probably on the spectrum. Lots of people on the spectrum at the shows, you can kind of tell. Yeah. Which is fine until you start trying to match wits with them. And then, no. A guy came up and said something about, do you have any Doctor Who or something like that? And I happened to mention Peter Cushing. And I made the fallacy of saying, well, Peter Cushing was the first Doctor Who. And this guy's, oh, no. No, Peter Cushing was not that doctor. No. I'm like, nah, I think he was. He's like, no. So I looked it up, and there was some, I guess it was in the late 50s. Yes, they had some Doctor Who show on, and that guy was upset that Peter Cushing played the first movie Doctor Who, I guess, or whatever. And I'm like, okay, you're right. And another guy comes up and says, I can't find a region 1 of Suspiria. We're like, well, you don't sell that because that's out. He's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, I think it is. I can't find me a region 1. I'm like, Synapse put it out. Yeah. And they're like, oh, really? It's like, yeah, well, Synapse is putting it out. I thought it had been out already. So I made quite a few mistakes. Bob was kind of making fun of me a little bit because I'm like, yeah. He did appreciate the fact though that he says, I do hear you, Cat. He listens to the show now.
Yeah.
Now,
finally.
Yeah. Once you've realized we made fun of him, but now he wants to hear what shenanigans we have afoot.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, right. So, but he said he did appreciate the fact that I do make mistakes in the show, but I come back the next week and bust myself out. I said, not only Bob, but I edit the damn show and leave my mistakes in. And then I write for the next week. Sometimes I feel like I just deserve it for opening my big mouth. As Jackie Gleason would say in The Honeymooners, I open my big mouth.
I have a problem with that too, Tim. Mostly with too many plates of food. Man.
I'm gonna try to make as few mistakes as I can. But when I do, don't freak out. I know I make them sometimes, but it's almost like one of these deals where, look, listening audience, we're all friends here. You know what I mean? Come on,
right? Exactly.
Yeah. So everything going good in your world, Ben Harley?
Yeah, pretty good, Tim. I've been really busy keeping my nose at the grindstone there. Mm-hmm. And boy, does it hurt. Yeah, no, I'm doing okay, Tim. Oh, yeah, we're working hard over here at the screen printing factory, making dreams happen.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Just one of these days, I'm going to make my dream happen.
Just keep practicing. So when you get to your own, it'll be You'll make it count.
That much more satisfying. Yes.
Yeah.
But no, actually, we're working real hard around here and doing some real cool, neat stuff here lately. So
Good.
It's been a lot of fun. Once it's done, when I turn the lights off at night, everything's real fun for me. I skip on out.
Right.
No, actually, we're having some fun though. We are doing some cool and different things lately, and some larger orders and a couple conventions and things too. So
Good.
that's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Well, I just been, the house is still being built. We got concrete going in during this phase. We're doing foundations and stuff like that. And, Ultraman's got a couple of gigs coming up. Playing at the end of the month on September 1st at the Old Rock House in St. Louis, which is a neat older building type of place. It's a pretty cool place. And we're playing with a group called The Living End.
Okay.
And I think they're from Australia. And I think they were a big deal. Yeah, they were a big deal, I believe, about 10 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
Or so, maybe a little bit more than that. I have never heard of them, so my apologies. But 10 years ago, music was about on in my dashboard almost as much as it is now, which isn't much at all. So I'm sure I'll enjoy it. First thing I'll talk about that I saw this week, that I watched this week.
Yeah.
I actually watched Svengoolie this weekend. I watched it from pretty much beginning to end. It had a movie on that I do not believe I had seen before. I've heard of it. And I might have seen it, but I didn't pay attention to it. So I can't honestly say I've seen it. It's a movie called Curse of the Undead. Okay. And it was a vampire Western, believe it or not.
Really?
And the main guy from Rawhide was like the star of this movie. So it all kind of ties into the Me TV thing. And forgive me, I can't remember his name. I can't even remember his name on the show.
On Rawhide? Okay.
Yeah, but he's like the main feller. You know, he's like an older growth kind of guy. He talks like this a little bit, Ben Harley, and he's he's one of these guys. And not too bad actually. You know, I started watching it, and Angio came down, and we were gonna watch a movie. He's like, you know, do you mind if we watch the rest of this? You know, it's like I don't think I've seen this, so we did, and we enjoyed that. You know, we had a pretty good time sitting down watching it. And Svengoolie was pretty good. He actually made me chuckle a couple times during his little shticks, and I really like him, and I'm glad he's there. I just don't find him funny. You know, and
I think he's almost like he pokes fun at it himself by making bad jokes. I think you know, and some of them are they are bad.
They're bad.
But I feel you.
Yeah,
I feel you. But I do like him. You know, and I do appreciate some of the stuff. I really enjoy when he tells behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, no, he's good at that.
I really like that stuff. You know,
well, that's why I like to watch him, because I actually respect the hell out of him, because he plays movies that you don't see very often, if ever.
No,
and he also yes, he knows a lot of the you know, the backstory on some of this stuff, and this isn't all crap you find on IMDb and things. You know, and he really. You know, I don't know. I just respect the hell out of him. Whether or not I think he's funny doesn't really matter. I'm kind of glad he's doing that stuff, because we talked about it before. When I was a kid, I never had a horror host. I mean, I had the Gilbert Godfrey and stuff like that, but a localized, you know, midnight movie kind of horror host from my area, never had one. Now, Svengoolie's up in Chicago. I understand that, but that's not too far away from. Well, that's 5 hours away. Actually, hell, Louisville's closer to me than Chicago. But the thing is that it's just coming in over the antenna, so it feels like it's local. So I kind of enjoy it. I really do. And like I said, the movies he plays are great. And some weeks, the Monsters Go Home weeks, I can do without those. I can do without those, you know. But I mean, he'll play like a classic Universal film and then play one of those Inner Sanctum movies like the next week or something like that. So just, I don't know, just interesting. Really, really appreciative of that. Yeah,
he's good. And I think reason I'm not really, and I understand what you're saying about him with some of his gags and stuff, but I know growing up with Sir Graves Ghastly, he would do these little skits where he would dress up and, you know, and you didn't really know it was him as a kid, but he, you know, and then he'd have, you know, when you put your little face on your hand and you do it upside down, or you do your face upside down, like
right.
You put a little beard on you.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry. He would do stuff like that. He would do like Beatles songs, but they would be "I Want to Bite Your Hand,"
right?
Stuff like that, and it was just So Bizarro. And I will go back and there's not many of those you can find. And I've watched some of them. And it's just Bizarro. And I think he has a lot. I think he was somewhat influenced by stuff like that too, you know, because it was just, and it was neat, you know, real cool stuff. So
the same kind of thing. And I'm glad we have these. I mean, I didn't even have an Elvira. That wasn't even syndicated where I live. I mean, so I didn't have anything at all. So
yeah, we were lucky. Yeah. We really were.
Yeah, you were.
We didn't know it at the time.
Yes. I had relatives that lived up outside of Cleveland in Willowick, Ohio. And I used to come up there and stay. And like on a weekend, he had Elvira on. I'm like, oh, how the hell are you guys getting this? You know, and it used to really bother me, you know. But anyway, I guess these days you can get your hands on pretty much anything. So, but I still want to pump in my antenna. I'm glad we're doing it. I don't know why, Harley. I guess, you know, we make fun of, at least I make fun of people watching VHS, and I'm sitting here watching shit on the antenna. So fair enough. You know, I guess I'm busting myself out on that one. A couple other things, Harley. A couple documentaries I watched. One of them was, I believe this aired on like A&E or something like a year or two ago. OJ, Made in America.
Yeah, I tried to start watching that, Timo. It's a couple episodes, isn't it? It's
God, it's over 7 hours of Orenthal James Simpson.
Yeah, I watched enough just to learn about his childhood and when he went to college, and I was like, "Oh, I was kind of bored with it."
I found it interesting. It kept me going through the whole thing. Not in one sitting, but it kept me going through the whole thing. That's enough OJ for me. The thing is, there was a couple of things, especially toward the end, where he pretty much confessed to his friends that he did it. Yeah, and you would believe this. Like when you were watching, they would a couple of his agent. He confessed it to his agent, and they were out drinking in his yard. They were drinking and smoking pot, actually. And
I wanted to step away. Okay.
What happened that night? And he goes, "What do you think happened?" He goes, "Well, I'm sorry. I think you did it." And he shook his head, yeah. And he said, but then he said how it really went down. And it made total sense, like how it happened. He's like, if that woman wouldn't have answered the door holding a knife, she'd be alive today. It was her knife. I guess he grabbed it from her or something like that. Yeah, so that's interesting.
And snapped.
Yeah, crazy. But you know, it's really long. But if you want to go on a binge or if you want to watch like an hour of something a night for a week, it's interesting enough. They go through a lot of. It's not just OJ. It's like it kind of parallels the story of America and race relations through it.
Yes,
which I think is a good thing to watch too. You know, I think it's a good.
It was kind of like how he became who he became, like like how things around him or influenced him to be who he was.
Yes,
I guess
he was accepted.
That's how I kind of took it as I was watching the first episode.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with how he was accepted by white America. It tries to explain to white America, myself, why all the African American people like cheered when he was found innocent.
Yeah.
And you know, you can it's kind of funny though, because it's almost like the media just drops the ball. It's not that they're lying. They just ignore stuff sometimes, you know, because maybe it's not going to sell, you know. But we're talking. They had
doesn't fit the narrative.
They had one of the jurors. It was an old black lady. Okay, who was on there. Oh, this kind of woman you'd want to hang out with and drink with. You know, she was. Yeah. I won't kick his ass. You know, that kind of person.
Yeah.
And she basically said that it was retribution for Rodney King, and she was a juror.
Rodney King. Yeah.
She was a juror. Yeah. She said, oh, yeah, it was for that. But then she said, he in jail now? Well, he is stupid. He belongs there. You know what I mean? Like she said, we let you off and you went back. And it was almost like they knew he'd go back. They kind of felt that way. But it was fascinating. It was interesting to watch. And I think everybody should watch it because, like I said, as a white person watching and hearing this stuff going, okay, I kind of understand that, I guess, a little bit. But then I think everybody should watch it because you should realize how far we have come. And also watch it to realize that we can't just let our total guard down. I've said before in the show, we don't need to be looking under rocks for racists like people do these days. But what I'm saying, though, is you just can't let your total guard down either. So, I thought it was fascinating and it was little eye-opening things. So, yeah, you know, not too bad. Sure. It's on Hulu, right, Harley? Is that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's on Hulu. So,
Yep.
Another documentary I watched called Heroes Manufactured. Okay, this is on Amazon Prime. where you need to be.
Nice.
And
Yeah,
it
I'm getting
is a
there.
documentary about the Canadian indie comic book scene.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not. Talk a lot about
Sounds
Captain
interesting,
Canuck.
yeah.
Lots of talk
Captain Canuck.
Lots of talk about that. So it's
I like
basically
that guy.
talking to independent comic book artists from Canada. And there's a lot of Canadian, it's just like actors.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff. It's like there's a lot of Canadian comic book artists that are working for like Marvel and DC. You just don't know they're Canadian. But then there's this whole thing up in Canada. And so basically the filmmakers go to different comic book conventions in Canada. And although you would think it would devolve into just another convention documentary, which are only interesting to us to see if we see ourselves or friends we know, basically. But I thought it was all right. I wouldn't really watch it again. An interesting thing, Harley, and I wanted to bring this up to you because I know this pissed you off. Okay, I know this pissed you off. Do you remember the CBS Fantastic Four cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon?
Yeah.
Well, the guy, one of the artist guys who I guess was working on Fantastic Four goes, okay, you want to know the story about the robot? Do you remember that? They didn't have Johnny Storm. They had a robot.
That's right. They had a robot.
Yeah, he goes,
yeah.
well, the CBS exec said we can't have a guy on fire because we'll have kids setting themselves on fire.
Are you serious?
I'm absolutely dead serious. And that was back then, right? So that's why there wasn't a Johnny Storm.
I'm the Human Torch. Whoosh. Oh my God.
I think he'd have a bunch of kids standing out in the street going, flame on, flame on. Why am I not bursting into flame?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't remember Johnny Storm ever pouring gasoline on his head to make it work.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I think that most people understand the difference.
Yeah, well.
I don't know. Okay. All right.
I don't know. Did you ever I never
Damn
even
lawyers.
I never even tore my shirt after watching the Hulk on TV. Okay,
me either.
I'm not really sure I would have done that, but anyway, not a bad documentary.
No, that sounds kind of mildly
It's
interesting.
Yeah, it's all right. Another one, Harley. Another one on Amazon Prime called Rat Skates. Born in the basement. Rat Skates was the drummer from Overkill.
Drummer for Overkill, yes.
Yes.
Wait a second. Okay. I like him, Timo. He was like, all right, fill me in because I know just a little bit about this.
Oh, he was in some punk bands and really that's kind of what Overkill
I think he
was.
only
A punk
did
band.
one album. Yeah, he only did like one album or two albums. I know he was on Taking Over and they had an album before that. And then he wasn't with them after, like, because I liked first off, I liked the name and I liked him as a drummer. I thought he was great.
Mm-hmm.
I
I was
Overkill a lot.
Yeah,
the first two albums a lot.
Well, I was just curious because we played with Overkill, and it was one of the. It had nothing to do with playing with Overkill. It was the circumstances of the night. I think it was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and we pulled up to this. This looked like a box sitting in a rock parking lot. And it looked like your stereotypical desert biker bar. And here comes Fragile Porcelain Mice pulling in, you know? Yeah. Not exactly biker guy material, you know? So we come pulling in, and we almost left because we were like, we're going to get our asses kicked here. You know, there's like no way this is going to work at all.
Like the Blues Brothers movie.
That's what we felt like. It's exactly what we felt like, yeah. And that might have even been brought up, to be honest with you. And it probably was brought up, to be honest with you. And we ended up calling our agent at William Morris, and he just said, stay, play the show. You're booked there, play it. We ended up having a grand old time. I mean, a grand old time. They were the coolest dudes. I'm trying to think of who the band was we played with, like Burning Orange or something like that. Like another really cool band played. What was it? There was another band that played that had a bunch of Meat Jack. That's who they were. They played too. So all these bands were kind of doing pretty good touring bands like us. And we had heard of a couple of them and stuff. So it all ended up really cool. And then Overkill ended up being the coolest dudes. And I remember them being really good. And I was not into that stuff, especially at that time. And I remember him like, these guys are really, really good. And they were really super nice. And I couldn't figure it out. Now, watching this documentary, I realized they were like Anvil. Like one of those bands you heard of, you saw the T-shirts, but they were a touring group. They were more underground than you realized they were and stuff, you know. So I really found it interesting. And I was trying to figure out via the documentary when I played with them, was he in the band? Because this was the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And he quit around them. And I think he was on a few of the records, Harley, because apparently this guy, Red Skates, he was Overkill. Like, he did all their stage stuff. He drew their logos. He booked their gigs.
Really?
He did everything. And it was his band, basically.
So maybe he just didn't tour with them, or because.
Well, he quit. He did quit. He said
Yeah.
he did. And that was kind of where the documentary ended. So I can't tell you. Look, it was more of a documentary about the thrash scene that kind of popped up around with Metallica and all these bands.
Yep.
And they kind of like how OJ was about OJ, but it was also about America. This was about a little bit about Overkill, but it was also about the thrash scene. So they'd have a little bit about how the thrash scene was growing, and then he would equate it to how Overkill was growing at the time. It wasn't too bad. It was okay. It wasn't great.
No,
Trust me, it wasn't great, but
interesting.
it was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah.
Because I do like Overkill. They were when they first came out, I would defend them guys because everybody's like, oh, geez, because they don't like the singer. Why? Because he can sing, because everybody was trying to go so anti, like metal and Rob Halford type shit, which God bless Rob Halford. That guy's awesome, but Bobby the Blitz is a great singer. And I was like, I turned a lot of people. I said, you have to listen to this album. It was taken over. And I was like, you have to, this is a great, and it is. I still love that album. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. And I was lucky enough to see Overkill. I think I've seen him more than once. I saw him one time. They were supposed to play in this big, huge venue. No, I shouldn't say big, huge, not stadium, but it was a big venue. Well, they didn't sell enough, so they went down to the basement and played. It was the first time I've ever left early from a show because it was, and I like my music loud. I love it loud. But man, it was overkill. No pun intended. And they're playing in a room, playing at Arena Rock volume in a room about the size of my shop. And oh my God, it was too much after a while.
Did they have the big stage setup where the drums were up on like a cinder block thing and they came out of a gate and stuff? That was a bunch of milk crates stacked up with some tarp thrown over it, painted. Yeah,
that's great.
But he was talking about how they made like all their stage show and they were influenced how Twisted Sister had a stage show and went through everything. It was interesting. Harley, I'm still pulling you toward Amazon Prime. Pulling you toward it.
Yeah, I've been talking. I've been also preaching to the choir here a little bit. I'm trying, putting a little bird in somebody's ear about switching.
Go. So. There you go.
yeah.
Let's see. I got a couple of. I went now. Also, this is also on Amazon Prime. But Harley, I think I talked to a couple. We've been talking for a week or two about. I watched a couple newer movies, even a couple found footage movies. Yeah. They have apparently found out. I think last week I told you about Bad Ben. Remember, I watched the movie Bad Ben, yeah. And I said these people have kind of figured out how to hold the camera still via, security cams and just stabilizers on the cameras, helping out the throw up factor that I have, the gross out, can't stand it.
Vertigo.
There's a movie on Amazon Prime, which Bad Ben is on Amazon Prime, but it's called Steelmanville Road. Okay, it's a prequel to Bad Ben. All right. Now, Bad Ben.
That's right. Okay.
Now, Bad Ben was just this movie about a guy who's flipping a house and he's hearing noises and things like that. Okay. And then there's something scurrying around. Okay. And it's very unexplained. I think he even said that. There's like no explanation. Okay. Yeah. Well, I could have left it with no explanation because basically Bad Ben does a job of over-explaining. Steelmanville Road does an overwhelming job of explaining Bad Ben to the point it's like, just stop. Stop. I don't care why the couch was sitting in that position. Just stop. And they attach it to the Leeds legend, the Jersey Devil.
Oh, really?
And what? I don't know. Yeah. Some of the stuff was stretching to make things make sense in Bad Ben. I would stick with Bad Ben and then watch Steelmanville Road as a curiosity piece, but it's kind of stupid. And they remember I told you Bad Ben took about, was it $300 to make? Yeah. It's all just, it's nothing. It's all just cameras and sleight of hand type stuff and things like that. This actually has bad digital effects in it. And crap like that, So, not too big on that. I almost had to watch it because of Bad Ben, but Bad Ben I thought was pretty interesting. But anyway, so got that one. Another one, Harley, I watched called The Blackwell Ghost.
Okay.
It's a fake
Blackwell
documentary.
Ghost, okay.
The Blackwell
Yeah.
Ghost. And not Jerry Blackwell, not Crusher Blackwell.
Not Crusher Black. Okay.
This is a found footage about Ghost. I mean, look, it's just kind of empty. It's so like, okay, these people go to a house. And it's an interesting setup, so it makes you watch it. And then when it gets to the part where you're supposed to be creeped out, yeah, and it just barely ends. So I was not a fan of the Blackwell Ghost. It's also on Amazon Prime. Another found footage movie that Angio and I watched was called Leaving DC. Okay, so this guy is somewhere on the spectrum. Okay, he is even in a support group of people with OCD.
Okay,
and he moves out like 6 miles away from everybody. Okay, and he is sending back reports to his support group because he's by himself now. He's taking his medicine. He's doing this and that, but he starts hearing tree knocks out in the woods.
Ooh.
Well, that got me kind of interesting. And then he started hearing someone play a flute.
Pan flute?
Well, I will tell you this. If you're terrified of the sounds of tree knocks and flutes, this is to be your exorcist. Okay, just telling you that right now.
Okay.
And speaking of The Exorcist, Ben Harley, Angio and I just last night sat down and watched The Exorcist.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Was that now? Which version, Tim? Of the original or that one where they added a couple things?
Yeah, that's the thing we were talking about last night, and in lieu of watching, or not in lieu of, but in dedication to Chud.
Yeah.
Where I watched the integral cut or whatever it was. We watched the theatrical one. We just watched the theatrical one. And it was 10 minutes shorter. It was a weeknight, school night. And so Angio, she had to go out of town this morning. So we just decided to watch that one. I'm kind of glad we did. Didn't probably need the extra 10 minutes. That's just what a great movie. Just a great movie. But unfortunately, I kind of talked through the whole thing doing kind of trivia, telling her about all this stuff that, I knew about the movie and stuff. But it was a pleasure to go back and watch. I'm telling you right now, if you watch that movie, you understand why all the special effects makeup guys worship Dick Smith. Yeah. I mean, you just know, because nobody remembers that as a special effects movie, which is what makes it so special.
Yep.
I mean, did you know that in that film, Max von Sydow was my age? He's 44.
No. Wow.
That's all old man makeup, that even on his hand. I mean, you just did not know he wasn't old, and that was all makeup. And everybody thinks about Linda Blair and her head turning around and all of a sudden. No, I mean, there's other things in that film that you don't notice, and that's what makes it brilliant. You're not supposed to notice it, right? So,
right.
Anyway, that was it was fun to watch. It was nice to go back. I mean, it's one of those movies, Harley, that I have to go back and watch every few years. Jaws, another good one. I go back and watch every couple years. Just The Funhouse, Poltergeist, Close Encounters. These movies that I guess we grew up on.
Yeah, they're great movies,
yeah.
and they actually last the test of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so.
The only time I've ever really had to turn a movie off while watching it, when I was a kid, I watched it and I was all by myself, and there's the part where she's kind of like just right into the camera, saying crazy, and I just like, that's it, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm going to bed. I've had enough.
I mean, I was brought up a Catholic kid. I went to Catholic grade school and stuff, so that was very. I knew exactly. That's what I was telling Angio last night. I said I knew exactly what they were doing. The whole movie, I knew the prayers they were saying. I was like, so that freaks you out when you're a little kid and you're going to Catholic school and all this stuff. And here we go. Here comes Father Marin, and I'm just like, oh my God. So, but it was nice to go back and watch it. It's such a great film.
It is. It really is. It truly is a great movie. I mean, it's at times it moves a little slow for me, but I think that adds to the film. And it's just some of the Catholic stuff, which I'm not trying to be like that, being Catholic and all, but it just, there's some slow moving stuff, and it's just more or less building the plot and things like that.
Well, I think some of it's also showing you Catholic ritual that we saw every week, probably, or whatever, because it was, but some people did not. And although we didn't realize that probably at the time, living in our bubbles, and everything. Yeah. But no, I mean, it was actually, there was real priests in that movie too. Father Dyer, The one that's
Yeah.
like that Jason Miller's best friend. He's a real
Yeah.
priest. He's
Is
a
he?
real priest. Yeah. And then the old fella that helps him get The Exorcist going, that's a real priest. That was the technical advisor for the film.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
interesting. And being
Yeah.
from St. Louis, where the actual Exorcist took place. So it's very, very, I don't even know if a lot of people realize that or know that,
No,
but
it's-
I know
I
the
didn't know that
hospital,
too.
Alexian Brothers Hospital
wow.
over in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah. They shut down a wing after it
Wow.
happened. We'll have to
Now,
go through
Tim,
that. We'll talk about that sometime.
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
to. Now,
Yeah.
Tim, I know you can probably talk a little bit more on this. Now, that's a film also that had a lot to do with sound and how sound and affected, or the score, I guess more. But I'm gonna say more sounds than score.
Yeah, a lot of weird sounds.
Affected that
Yeah.
film. Yeah, I mean, just like, oh man, it just really, it makes your skin crawl.
Right,
type
yeah.
thing. And you know a movie's good and stuff like that. When it sends a shiver down your spine, you're like, oh, good. you
Yeah.
know? And that's that movie.
Right.
You know? It really is.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really hold back very much either. So that's what's kind of cool about it.
Good
But,
stuff, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Also, Harley, something else that I know you're least interested in. I watched Shin Godzilla.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the new Shin Godzilla. Yeah, the new.
What'd you think?
As actually, I think America was supposed to be. It's supposed to be titled Godzilla Resurgence. It was supposed to be, but
Okay.
I think they just left the Shin Godzilla
Shin, yeah.
on there. And Shin like translates roughly to new, true, or even God
Oh,
type of thing. Okay.
yeah, I haven't seen it yet. So.
All right.
But
We talked to the only person I've ever talked to about this movie was Mr. Mark Diamond from the Doors.
Yeah,
Hello,
Mark
Mark.
Diamond.
Yes, and
hey, Mark.
he said he'd be interested to hear what I thought about it. He went to a theater
Yeah.
and he saw it, and he was disappointed in it. He said, and I think I kind of know why. Look, it's a different Godzilla take. It's
Yes.
different take. Here's one thing. Now just relax for a second when I tell you this.
Okay.
Godzilla's completely CG.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That was hard for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. yeah. A little
Sorry
bit.
for-
Just
Now-
trying to take it in.
Now the CG was based off. You could tell a suit. It was motion captured by an actor and stuff
Okay.
like that. It doesn't look
Sure.
too bad. Like it still looks like a suited Godzilla, and he's pretty mean looking. It's pretty good looking.
Yeah.
But the problem is that this is kind of like an evolution of Godzilla. So when he starts off, you do not recognize what you're looking at. You don't see.
Yeah.
He's like rolling
had
around
a
on his
little worm or
belly.
something.
He's rolling around on his belly with basically like frog eyes or like fish eyes, and he's like
Yeah.
as we say, googly eyes, and he's
Yeah.
like kind of going. And I realized immediately, I'm like, okay, where the original Godzilla was a metaphor for the atomic bomb,
Atomic
the
bomb,
bombs we dropped on Japan and at the end of
Yes.
World War II. This clearly was a metaphor for the earthquake they had with the big tsunamis and everything.
Oh,
because
okay.
he's
so they're
worming
being
his
punished again.
Yes,
Is that
he's
what-
worming his
yes.
way through the city, pushing a flood with him. It's very
Oh, wow.
obvious. It's
Yeah.
a take on that. So, and really, it's a lot about bureaucracy, about how it slows everything down. The reason people die is because there's too much red tape.
Yes.
And the movie has way more to do with that than any Godzilla monster.
Then Godzilla.
Yeah, there is some Godzilla in it. He does some stuff, and he doesn't fight anybody, so it's on Godzilla. So it's totally
Okay.
on Godzilla, you know. And what makes the first Godzilla so great is the amazing destruction and the fear and everything. This is a little bit more bureaucratic BS and stuff. So I am going to side with our pal, Mr. Mark Diamond, and say, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think so. Nice, interesting try at something
Take,
different. Yeah, and I get where they're rebooting Godzilla using a modern catastrophe in Japan versus the original one, but
Yeah.
didn't come off as good.
Yeah. I don't know, Timmy. From just seeing the previews, and I watched the trailer, and they also played it because I think it had a real limited run, and I think it was
Yeah.
only 1 or 2 days
Yep.
that they were showing it because it was one. I mean, it was 1 day here, and it might have been 2 showings or something. And I knew that it was going to be just for me. Like, if I don't want to see a new Godzilla movie, that's not good. It's because I'd walk to see Godzilla movie. I'd walk to the theater,
Right.
and this one just I didn't, for some reason. it looked really weird to me, and I didn't like how Godzilla looked like he was like molting, or he was like lava or something. He was like on fire or something. Like he looked like he was just getting bigger to where he was going to explode or something. I don't know. And Godzilla looked weird. His face just looked weird. And I don't know. I don't want to go to something like that and be sitting there thinking, God, this looks stupid. I stepped back and didn't go.
Like the first half of the movie, Godzilla kind of looks more like a Gar that he does Godzilla. But then he does. I mean, when he's Godzilla, he looks a lot like Godzilla. But like, they just kind of play with things and kind of make it their. I don't know. I mean, even some of the actors, like the older gentleman actors, you recognize from older Godzilla films and stuff. Okay. So they were doing a lot to try to make this legit. And I think if you live in Japan, maybe this thing hits home a lot more than us. A lot more, but I just didn't feel like Godzilla rolling around on his belly through the city, pushing like basically a tsunami through the city was as effective or dramatic as Godzilla just stomping on buildings and going crazy.
Right.
The first one. But anyway, so I'm going to have to side with Mr. Mark Diamond on this one. Yeah. And I'd say just wait till you have an easy chance to see it.
That's what I've been waiting for. Because I just I was disappointed in it because I was like, oh, wow, look at this. But then I also haven't been as super excited about some of the Godzilla films they've put out over the years. I like a lot of them, and I do own most of them, but some of them I just, they're okay. They're okay. I'm really hoping for good things if they do the King Kong Godzilla or destroy all monsters. That's what I want to see.
We'll see if they can pull it off good. So, but
we'll see. We'll see. Got hopes, Timo.
Last up here. Oh well, you have to have some hopes, But don't live on a hope and a prayer, my friend. Last up here, Harley. I think you watched some riff tracks, and I did too. I watched the riff tracks of the movie Buffalo Rider.
Buffalo Rider.
Yeah, a guy that takes his time to train a buffalo to ride like a horse.
Yeah, maybe I haven't.
Go across the countryside. This was, just the actual story itself was enough to make it a pretty decent riff tracks.
Yeah.
And they were really like honing in on the fact that these characters are not who you think they are in the script. And no, that's not the Buffalo Rider. That's just a guy doing this, doing that. And here's this and that, and I don't know. It was good. It was funny. I really just enjoy the riff tracks. There's not much to say about them because it's just a series of jokes, but it's a pretty good one. And Buffalo Rider is like a stinky poo. A stinky poo. Oh. So, but it was enjoyable. Which ones did you get to see?
Tim, let's see. I watched. I was on a little freak out myself this weekend, so I guess I'll start with Miami Connection.
Oh
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is about like a band that plays in Miami in the 80s, and the band. Well, I guess he's the leader, but he plays the worst air guitar. I mean, he has a guitar, but he's trying to act like he's playing guitar.
I hate that.
The little guy who looks in between Bruce Lee and someone who got hit in the face with a sledgehammer or a frying pan, and he wants to be Bruce Lee real bad.
Okay.
And
wait, that's Jackie Chan.
Oh,
sorry.
Sure.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he has a band called, Dragon Sound, and they have real kick-ass T-shirts that say Dragon Sound with the old, and I know that the font is Cooper font, the old press-on letters, that you go and buy at Walmart or somewhere, and you iron them on yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, but this band, they're also really good karate guys too.
Of course they are.
Oh yeah, but the main guy, he's the real badass, But anyways, they They don't muscle out. They just end up getting a gig at a new nightclub in Miami. They get a gig, but the last band got fired, so they're very disgruntled about it. So they hire different people to try to beat up Dragon. First, they try to beat up Dragon Sound, and that doesn't work out. And then they hire a group of toughs that try to beat down Dragon Sound, but that doesn't happen either. And it's so funny because a couple of these movies that I watched, the extras in these films are not street toughs at all. I swear to God, it looks like a poor kid that might have been in a sorority or in college at the time just happened to walk behind a building to take a leak and got kicked by one of these guys, and just they left it on film because they don't look like they're like, who's this guy? He don't look like any of these gang members.
Right.
First off, none of them look like gang members. Or
Right.
But this one, Timo, really, it was fun to watch. I've been wanting to watch it, and I've been having problems with my Roku TV, so I just was watching them on the iPad, but this was just a fun one. I don't know if you haven't seen it, Timo, it's one you really need to see.
I've seen it, but I'll go back to see it again.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah. Shelf Factory's only put up so many, and I'm almost through the ones they've put up. I think there's about 8 of them right now, and I finished Breaker, which was the Chuck Norris.
I told you the trucks were talking at the end with nobody coming out of them. I'm telling you. Yeah.
So I finally finished Breaker, and then I went into Miami Connection. Now, this other one that I watched after Miami Connection was I think it was made around the same time. And now my life is definitely complete after watching this film. And it's one called Samurai Cop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, did you spend the movie trying to figure out if it's a wig scene or not a wig scene with him wearing them?
Like why was he wearing one and then not wearing one? Was it that a stunt double, or was that, I don't know, because he had some sexy hair, Tim. Sexy hair. And
yeah.
But this film is, oh my God.
How about his partner?
Oh yeah.
His partner. That guy was something else.
He would make facial expressions throughout the whole film. They would pan back to him, and he'd be making this facial expression. And I think only one time they said, "Well, that was the appropriate facial expression," because whatever was happening on screen was not good. You know, what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you just smelled a fart or something.
Right.
Yeah, it was loosely it looks like they tried to base it on. And I think this might have been made in 1990, so it might not be in 80s. But yeah, it looks like they tried to make like a Lethal Weapon type film, but with a guy who was the least bit samurai-ish guy I've ever seen in my life. What was that? I mean,
why was he trying to hide that hair under a hat too half the time? Yeah.
But this film, I tell you what, Timo, I loved the riffing of it. I loved everything about it, but actually I just liked the film itself because it was so god awful that I just couldn't take my eyes off. And then I watched it in 2 sittings because I had to help out with Ruby and stuff, but I couldn't wait to get back to finish it. But whoo-wee. I don't know if there was even a samurai in the film, you know what I mean? But,
or a cop.
Yeah, but that was the same thing. There was also these street toughs that did not. I mean, I think they actually came from the movie Miami Connection, and they just used them both because what was so funny, at one point in Samurai Cop, he confronts, or some guys confront him in a club, and they said, "Let's hurry up with this scene because Dragon Sound's got to get out here and get their ass kicked in a minute." So it's funny, they riff Miami Connection in Samurai Cop. I was like, yeah, that was great, But yeah, oh my God, I had so much fun watching those two.
There's a Samurai Cop too.
Is there?
Yeah.
I sure hope so.
Because on Amazon Prime.
I got to make a Samurai Cop shirt.
Oh yeah, you do.
That's my next. I think that's my next one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, what a great film. Now this next one was a good one, but the movie is also god awful, but not in a fun way. This one was called Prisoners of the Lost Universe.
Oh yeah, with Richard Hatch.
And it's got Richard Hatch in it, and it's got
Kay Lenz,
guy that you like. John Saxon. Yeah. John Saxon's in it. Yeah. But, and also it's got my little guy from the movie we just reviewed, Hawk the Slayer. It's got the little guy from Hawk the Slayer's in it. And boy, do they rip him. Oh, they rip him like he's the worst person of all time. Like, they hate him. That's so funny. But, yeah, that one it's good. It's okay, but that movie, oh, my God, you just feel bad for Richard Hatch. And John Saxon, you're like, but Richard Hatch is just, man, I think, what a dick. I think he's just. But the movie's so bad, too, it's like his voice changes a lot. And then they speed up a lot of stuff and slow it down. Like they did that in Samurai Cop a lot, too. They speed stuff up, and whoo. I don't know about the Prisoners of the Lost Universe. Basically, yeah, they end up getting sucked into a universe with a doctor, and I don't know.
And they're prisoners in it.
Yeah.
No, it's bad.
And
Yeah.
it ends worse than like any of the Hammer or old Universal films, you know. And I'm not saying those were bad, but you know how I am with those where they just end abruptly. You know,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
wow, okay,
Yeah.
you know, all right, that's cool, I guess, you know, send me off like still in shock, I guess, but yeah, some of this ended just like that. I'm like, that can't be the end, you know. I'm like, you could have just thrown in another 30 seconds and wrapped this up a little tighter, but yeah, I didn't like that one. It was bad, Tim. It was a good riff tracks, but you know what I mean? I didn't enjoy it as much.
I remember, look, I've seen most of these movies without the riff tracks, and believe me, brother, I'll only go back and watch them with for the most part. Yeah.
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 Woo.
I saw
bad
Prisoner
one.
of the Lost Universal without the riff tracks when I was a kid. And
bad.
It's bad. Yeah.
It is so bad. I don't know if that was before Battlestar Galactica or right around the same time, but he could not have used that movie for a audition tape. I'll tell you that much. Ooh,
Right.
God, it's awful. But yeah, I'm just in about the middle of this one. I'll just speak real briefly on another riff tracks. It's Hillbillies in a Haunted House.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Now there are a pair of something in that film.
The blonde? Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. What you're talking about, yeah.
Oh my God, the shirt that she's wearing definitely should have been up for an Academy Award for hardest working shirt I've ever seen in my life.
I think Angio wanted to honk on those things when we were watching it. I'm telling you, because we both watched it and we both looked at each other like, wow. And she ain't flat. Angie ain't flat. She was like, woof. You know, she was like, whoa. Yo, I think she might have bit her own palm while she was looking at it. You know? She went in
things look like they
squeakied
could
out.
hurt you.
Yeah.
For real,
Oh my
yeah.
God. You can see her coming around a corner like 5 minutes before she hits it. It's like,
Yeah. So, but yeah, Hillbillies in a Haunted House is just that movie. Wow. Same thing too. Like, it's just, but it actually brought me back to a little bit more fun, you know, because Prisoners of the Lost Universe kind of brought me down a little bit. Hillbillies in a Haunted House, the movie itself is just like, holy crap. The fact that they even made it, you know what I mean? And then there's a guy in there named Jeepers who is their business manager of Honkers and what's her name's not Honkers, but it's something close to that.
It is.
Shooter or Boots or something they call her. Whatever. But yeah. Anyways, Jeepers, the business manager of her and the guy that looks like James Caan. But they did do a really nice Guar reference in Hillbillies with a Haunted House. So, and it happened to be with Jeepers. They said, this is Jeepers is just on his way to greatness before he becomes the manager of Guar or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, it just, I thought it was a funny one. I'll get back to you on the rest of it, but it's got, it's got Lon Chaney in it, Jr. It's got Basil Rathbone, and it has John Carradine and somebody else.
It's one of those drive-in slam bangers, you know, just throw everybody together and make a comedy rock and roll horror movie and go with it. Yeah.
They're basically have the hillbillies in this haunted house and they're trying to like, I don't know if they're trying to scare them, but then they're interested in them. But there's a part where Jeepers carries around a television with him and he's trying to watch TV in the haunted house. And then he's watching this guy sing a song. And then all of a sudden, like, faces will pop up on the television, one being Lon Chaney, then the next would be John Carradine or whatever. And there's a scene where Lon Chaney just, his face is on screen, and then he just does like this face. And I rewound that about 4 times. And it's just, oh my God, it's painful, but it's so funny too.
Right.
And I don't know when that film was made. I didn't look it up, Timo, but I don't think Lon Chaney Jr., you know, I like him. I don't think he was long for the earth around this time this movie was made or much long because he looks awful.
Yeah.
I mean, awful. Like, I felt bad almost watching him and I was like, oh my God, but I don't know who talked them guys into making that movie, but
money.
Yeah.
That's who talked him into
Alcohol.
it. Money. Yeah. A little bit of both probably. Yeah.
Yeah, they reference it a little bit, mostly with Basil Rathbone. They kind of say something about that with him, but I just, oh my gosh, poor Lon Chaney, man, Jr. just looks god awful in it, man.
It's rough.
because there's a gorilla guy or a guy in a gorilla suit, and they kind of be like, "Is that Lon Chaney Jr. or the gorilla?" The gorilla suit. But yeah, if you get a chance, I know you've probably seen it.
I've seen it a couple times. Yeah, and the riff tracks.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if any of our fans, hadn't seen it, get out there and take a look. It's funny.
If nothing else, you can check out the twins in the movie because it's impressive.
Yeah.
She's impressive all around. She's an impressive.
I think they say chest
person.
missiles at one point. Like, shoot them with your chest missiles.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for my riff tracks. One real quick thing, Timo, real fast, and I know we're going long. Okay, I thought that the movie Three-Headed Shark was dumb.
Oh god.
They have a movie, and I watched just a few minutes of it. Five-headed shark. But I thought they were wrong because I was watching and there was only 4 heads. Okay. There was only 4 heads. And I'm like, they're lying to me. Okay. They're lying. And I was even checking the info. You're lying. No, they're not, Timo, because there is a head on the tail.
Oh God.
5-headed shark attack. The shark swims out of the air at one point and grabs a helicopter about 50 feet in the air.
Oh God.
But yeah, so 5-headed shark attack, and I know, don't watch the movie, Timo, but please, in your downtime, you have to go take a look at what the 5-headed shark looks like. So basically, when it swims real fast, the shark's head in the back is just going, and it doesn't have a fin. It's the actual shark head, and it's like,
right. Well,
I know we're on radio, so you couldn't really see me.
Well, I tell you what's funny. I saw I don't remember what the show or anything was, but I saw something, and it was a special effects company. Yeah. And the Asylum went to him and hired him to do Two-Headed Shark Attack. Their classic one. So they designed a shark with a head growing out of basically the bottom of its other head. So one head on top of the other. And they said, why did you do that? They said, because that's pretty much anatomically the only thing that would make sense if you're going to have that. And the guy's been saying, I don't care about that. Put the heads next to each other. That's what? And so it just goes to show you, they just look, the thing about it.
5-headed shark.
I'm not going to go on. And it's like, it's like the thing is there's some movies that were made that were cheesy. They were made with fun and for fun. And some movies were just made purely to make fun of. And some of those are like, that's the Asylum for you. It's almost like
this one's so bad, Timo, they can't even there's not even a known actor in it. Like, not that I knew, there wasn't even a aging one-hit wonder guy or one movie good. No, but I mean, you didn't even know they were, and it showed too, but who are you going to talk into doing that? I mean, Lon Chaney Jr.'s dead, so you ain't going to talk him into doing it.
Right.
God bless him, but I don't know.
Oh, well, Harley. Well, hey, let's get to our song for this week. How about we do that?
All right, Timo, what are we rocking to, buddy?
Well, I thought we would rock to a song by Season to Risk. We just went to Mr. Steve Tulipano's place, me and Danny Hicks did in Kansas City, and he was a singer of Season to Risk. I went to his place, the Record Bar, and he set up a real nice dinner for myself and Danny and Angio and Dominic, who is Danny's agent, a couple of celebs, and I thought I started thinking about it. Let's play a good old classic Season to Risk song. This one's from 92, if you can believe this, off of their self-titled record, Season to Risk. And this song is called Snakes. All right. Snakes. So this is Snakes by Season to Risk on the Timo and Harley Show. Oh, no, you can't hiss at him. You just boo him. Don't hiss. All right, here we go. Snakes on Timo and Harley Show.
Snakes.
Sour.
right, Ben Harley.
All right, Tim O'Savin.
Snakes. Oh, God. Here we go. Yeah. Season of Risk with snakes.
Snakes.
Yeah. So
Nice.
good stuff.
Atta boy.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's get to our official films, Mr. Ben Harley.
All right, Timo.
We're running out of time here, and I want to get to these films. We got some things to discuss here with these films. So our first official film is 1988's Destroyer.
Destroyer.
Right. Yes, Destroyer. Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, there's a blurb. There's a blurb.
Nice.
So let's just start off with the blurb. Okay, here we go. The blurb. If anybody doesn't know, a blurb is like the little tagline on the poster art. We call them blurbs. Yeah. So anyway, and they're always silly. Even the good ones are silly when you actually look at them and think about them. And we kind of equate them to memes like on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. You know, it's like, looks real
they
good.
Got really important to the films for that. They were. Yeah. They really were.
But then when you looked at them, like, that don't make no sense. You know,
right.
Do you want to win the game? Outscore the opponent. Well, thanks, guy. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the one for Destroyer. 3,000 volts couldn't kill him. It just gave him a buzz. All right, here we go. Okay, movie guy, let's do synopsis of Destroyer. Here we go. When Ivan Moser, football great Lyle Alzado, a convicted serial killer, is set to be electrocuted, a devastating prison riot erupts on the day of the execution. In the wake of the destruction and mayhem, the prison is shut down and Moser becomes a legend. No proof of his death exists. 18 months later, film director Anthony Perkins, intrigued by the legend of Moser, decides to use the prison as a film set. On the last night of filming, the truth of Moser's fate is about to be revealed. The film crew, trapped inside the prison, begin to disappear one by one. This electrifying thriller also stars Deborah Foreman, Valley Girl, and Clayton Rohner. I'm Madman. Okay. That's a good synopsis. This is very well. Shout Factory put this out. Scream Factory, excuse me. Same company, but subsidiary, I guess, or whatever. But yeah, so Scream Factory puts this out. Destroyer 1988. Yes, it is sort of like.
Shocker?
Yeah, you know, it's got a little Shocker in it. It's got a little bit of that in. Not the budget of Shocker.
No.
And maybe, thank God, it doesn't have the budget of Shocker, so it can't go off the rails like that. But Lyle Alzado, is a serial killer, and he gets electrocuted. But instead of like going into the power lines and becoming a disembodied spirit, he just kind of disappears.
Yeah,
and they don't know. They just don't know where the hell he is. So basically, Lyle Alzado is living in the prison, hiding from society because they think he's dead. So basically, he's like Bill Bixby in the Incredible Hulk series. You know, the world thinks he's dead, and he's going to let the world think that he's dead until he can find a cure for their rage or whatever the hell they said. Okay, so anyway, let's see. And Deborah Foreman and Clayton Rohner, they're working on the film. What are they doing actually?
Yeah, he's a special effects guy.
Gotcha.
And I think he's a special effects guy. Or builds, at least makes the props and stuff. I think is what he does. And then, because there's that other crazy guy that does like all the.
Oh yes, that was Rewire, who was played by Jim Turner. Did you recognize him at all?
Briefly, but no, I don't.
Do you remember Randy of the Redwoods? On MTV, Rock the Vote, Randy of the Redwoods, the hippie guy who lived out. That's him.
Yeah, that's him.
Ben Harley. To this day, if I'm upset with an election, which happens quite often, I do write in Randy of the Redwoods still. I still vote Randy of the Redwoods. Jim Turner is still getting votes for president. I can guarantee it because I'm voting for him. I just put Randy of the Redwoods, and I learned I misspelled his name. It's Randee. I actually learned that. So he's kind of getting votes if there's another Randy of the Redwoods. Yeah. That's right. So sorry, that's awesome, but he was Randy of the Redwoods. Yeah. I recognized him immediately. I told Angie, that's Randy of the Redwoods. She's like, who the hell is that? And I went through the whole thing again.
Then I think Deborah Foreman, what her character is the stunt girl for the main the girl in the movie. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. She's playing a stunt person because she has a stunt double in this movie. That's pretty interesting. But they're basically making a movie in a prison where dead Lyle Alzado hangs out pretty much. You know? And Anthony Perkins is the director, yes, of the film. He actually replaced Roddy McDowall, who was supposed to be in this. I'm going to say something here. I criticize Anthony Perkins often. Actually, I love Psycho and I love his Norman Bates character. I just don't find him to be a across the board good actor.
I can see that.
Yeah, and I actually thought his performance was pretty good in this movie. He kept it just lighthearted enough and serious enough for the tone of the film. I thought he did a really good job. So there's a bit of a movie within a movie in this. They are shooting. It looks like a women in prison movie.
Yeah, movie.
They're shooting
type thing with Tiffany.
Yes.
Is that Tiffany?
No, it wasn't, but it looked a little bit like her if she got her face beat up a few times.
Yeah.
But, Harley, you can imagine I used to like the women in prison movies. They were kind of a sub-genre of women's wrestling in a way. So I kind of got into those back in the day. Lalo Zato, again, he was the football legend from the Browns, Broncos. I always knew him from the Raiders.
Raiders.
My thing with Lalo Zato, okay, so he's basically this unstoppable killer in the prison. That's it. Yeah. We've seen this 100 times. This is typical 80s schlock slasher, unstoppable slasher film. But man, he does not have enough makeup at all. He has like a little spot on his face that you might have thought that he might have just gotten some oatmeal in his face by accident while he's eating breakfast. That always bothered me. This is not the first time I've seen this film. Is it the first time you've seen the film?
No, Timo. And I was trying to think the other day. I do not think I saw this in the theater. It's possible, but I know I've only seen it like one time. And I don't think it was. I don't know that it was on VHS or anything. So I don't think I would have rented it.
It was on VHS. I don't think it was on DVD. It's out now on Shout Factory. It's actually a double.
No, I'm sorry. But I mean, I don't think I saw it on VHS for some reason.
Oh, I gotcha.
So I don't know. So that's why I was thinking, like, did I see this in the theater? But I can't see myself really going to see this one for some odd reason. But I know I've seen it before. I know I have.
I think
at some point in my life.
They played it like on USA Up All Night and some cable.
Yeah,
it did go to cable for a little bit. Not real strong. It didn't play a whole lot, but it did play some.
And I remember the cover real well,
Oh, yeah.
With him. Oh, yeah. It's a memorable cover with him holding the jackhammer.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And kind of looking like me a little bit, only not as handsome in the face area, but the body was a little smaller than me, a little bit, but not too much. You probably wouldn't notice if you looked from a distance. But yeah. Now, here's the thing. I did not, when this movie came on, I saw it. I just did not like it. It looked cheap and clumsy and what have you. Okay. But I always liked the cast. I like Deborah Foreman. She's a pal and that's nice. Yeah. And, and everything. Clayton Rohner, I've always liked a lot. I always liked the young. Good. Yeah. And then, the Anthony Perkins was a good choice for this film. I think. Now, Lalo Zato is a little bit over the top.
I was wondering how they talked him or got him for this film. You know what I mean? I always wondered that.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure how much of a pal our pal Deborah Foreman was with Lalo Zato after a couple of these scenes, because he got into his character to the point where I was like, is he groping her with his forehead? I was kind of like, what the hell's going on? But here's the thing that's really crazy. Okay, now, I walked into this expecting to be like, oh God, here we go. And I just thought, let's just do this movie. I hate this. Don't tell anybody this. All right, here we go. Come here.
Yeah.
I actually had a lot of fun with this compared to when I saw it before. So now I walked in with real low expectations, but I sat there and thought, you know what? I must really miss these movies because I'm actually having fun with this. And I think it actually was better now than it was then because we're not inundated with clumsy slasher films. Let's put it that way.
Well, they were putting so many at us so fast and at such a pace. And there's, I'm going to say 75% of them are garbage.
Yes.
And I'm sorry. That's how I felt back then. I really did. At this point when they were making these films.
Right. What did you think?
I actually had more fun watching it because I didn't take it serious. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I liked Anthony, Perkins' character as the director because he was kind of like, whatever, and like how he was dealing with the diva actress, Tiffany. And I thought I liked her character because she was such a jerk, and everybody hated her and stuff, and it was just like, I liked it. I thought that stuff was good. I thought the movie itself, it was okay. You know, Lyle Izado, I always didn't, I think reason I didn't really gravitate towards this film or really ever want to watch it is because of him. And it's not that I don't like Lyle Izado. I just didn't really think that he was I just couldn't separate Lyle Izado from being Lyle Izado to him being this character. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I hear you. Yeah.
You know, and I've heard stuff about him over the years, like him being a real hardcore guy, like a real mean, bad
on the football
drug
field
addict too.
I think his problem. Yeah, he had drugs, but at the end, he
steroids. And
well,
stuff
that was
too,
what he had brain cancer and he blamed it on steroids at the end of his year. So he really started the whole steroid hysteria. I don't know. I mean, I don't know much about steroids, so I'm not going to say they're good or bad or nothing.
Kind of like the Boz. I think the Boz was. I remember that's the first person I kind of heard about with steroids back when I was in high school.
Yeah,
but I think that's my problem though with this, Tim. Was I think if they would have been someone different than Lyle Izado, I might have watched this film or gravitated towards it a little bit more back when it came out. But yeah, I kind of liked it only for the fact that because some of it was silly. Two things I did have a problem with: one being Lyle Izado a little bit, and the other is, and gosh, because I like her so much, but Deborah Foreman's hair. I didn't.
Oh
like
yeah, no, I don't.
She
like the
had
short hair.
Somewhat like of a Duran Duran type cut they were doing back then. Where it wasn't all flippy, but it was like, like it. I don't know. I just
well, Clayton Rohner had a Kaja Gugu haircut too. So both of them. But I didn't. I'm not a short hair person. Like in general,
well, hers was just, it was short and choppy and weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, sign of the times.
It was very artsy fartsy. Like, I'm okay. I'm cool.
I tell you what, she's still beautiful. She's still beautiful. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. She's still a beautiful woman. She's just as beautiful now as she was then. I'm just saying, but yeah, I'm glad her hair grew back out since then. That's nice. I like it more. Yeah. So sorry, Deborah.
But I thought she was really good in it.
Yeah, she was. She was really good.
For what they were doing.
Yeah.
For what they were doing. I mean, it is what it is. I just think at that time, Timo, this stuff, I was starting to get upset with horror films because I don't like slasher stuff and gore for gore's sake. I don't, and we've talked about this a lot, and I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't. I'm sorry if that makes me a prude or a mamby-pamby wuss girl. So be it. I like my horror and stuff a little bit more, shocking or more, I don't know. This type of stuff doesn't do it for me. Let's put it that way. I'd seen enough. I've seen enough Friday the 13th at this point and stuff like that too, even that I didn't need anymore. Like that. You know what I mean? I like the ones that I like. And it just, after a while, gets to the point where they're making movies just to show how they can, different ways of killing, different interesting ways, I guess, of killing people.
Oh, that was a big deal. Yeah, it was a real big deal back then. I think Deborah Foreman and Clayton Rohner and Anthony Perkins and even Jim Turner, the guy that Randy the Redwoods guy, I thought they turned in really good performances. And I actually kind of think it was directed okay. I think the editing was a little weird. Like the editing to me was a little choppy and kind of, it just didn't seem like it was tying in the story in a nice pattern as the movie
tell me
goes
this,
on.
Yeah, because I don't know. Was that janitor guy? Was that his dad or something?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It was very strange to kind of. It didn't hook you into the story enough. It just hooked you into the characters a little bit, but it kind of went the way of that instead of the story. And I think we would. And here's the other thing too. I personally think, if you want my opinion, I don't know this, but it looks to me like Lyle Izado wanted to prove he could act. So he made sure that they gave him a lot of stupid lines and made sure his face was very clear because his face is very clear. And at the very end, he gets messed up pretty good for like the final shot. Had he had that makeup on the whole movie and maybe talked less, if he would have talked less and when they had that, because he, like when he's all over Deborah Foreman, I wanted to smack him just because I like her.
Yeah.
So on one hand, he was doing a good job, but I believed him too much. I'm like,
Yeah.
Lyle, get your face out of there, okay?
Yeah.
And she looked like she really wanted him to get away, and I don't blame her, at all. So that was a little uncomfortable.
God, that guy had a dwarf, and he did. I mean, he dwarfed her. Like,
oh God, yeah. She's
I'd have been scared of that guy choking
she's
on
a
me.
petite lady to begin with, So it's like, ugh. So, but here's the thing. Somehow I found myself enjoying myself. And maybe it was because I wanted to turn my brain off and watch something. And I certainly did that. And I got to see actors that are nice to watch perform. None of them took it too serious. But what I liked about them is that none of them also took it as a total joke. Where, especially toward the end, Deborah Foreman, that's some damn good acting. I mean, she was really scared and really disheveled and everything, and I thought Clayton Rohner did a good job of playing his part. Too. I really did, and I thought I think some of the best scenes were some of the stuff when the electric chair. A couple good moments in there, and stuff.
I like when they tricked the girl, the lead actress of the movie, to do her performance better. They actually put a little jolt through the through the chair, and she's like, and she got, oh man, I like that part. I thought it was funny because I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna really shock her, man. That's right.
So, but look, here's the thing. I'm gonna give it a mild grape ape up, and it's a nostalgia grape ape, and I think that seeing a lot of crap between then and now. Yeah, this is helped by some of the other stuff I've seen, and the fact that we're not inundated with these kinds of movies at all anymore. So I actually thought, standing alone on its own, it was almost a fun drive-in-esque type of film. It wasn't a drive-in film, of course, but it was that feel. It was kind of like. It wasn't taking itself horribly serious. There are some pimples on it, some imperfections, stuff that I would totally change, as we have discussed. But I am going to give it just a mild grape ape up. And the performances by some of the actors actually helps a lot. That made it watchable and interesting to look at. So that's my verdict, Harley. How about you?
Sure. I'm going to give it... I'm not going to poop on it. I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I can't really give it too much of a grape ape. Let's give it a lukewarm grape ape up, only for the fact because there are some things I did like about it, and it actually made me, I want to say giggle or smirk a little, but in a good way, kind of like, look out type thing.
Right.
Whoa, here comes Lyle, stuff like that where which I like that stuff. Like, oh boy, look out. When I'm talking to a movie, even if I don't like it all that much, that's a good thing. You got me. You know what I'm saying? And I did watch this while I was printing the one morning, and I liked it more than I thought I was going to. But I just think for me, this was one of those films at that time period, including like Shocker and stuff like that, that I was kind of done. I was like, I just want to see something different. You know what I mean? I want my Friday the 13th Part 2. I want my Halloween. You know what I mean? I want that stuff back. I want to be creeped out and scared. But yeah, I did enjoy watching it, and I'm glad we did because I haven't seen it in forever, and I probably wouldn't have ever watched it again. So I'm glad we did review it.
It's out on Blu-ray, like I said, Scream Factory / Shout Factory put it out, and actually they were pretty clever about it. They put it out on another as a double feature with the movie Edge of Sanity, which is Anthony Perkins doing like a Jekyll and Hyde thing.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good. I've seen that.
Yeah, so they did it. They did put it out. Now, did I send you both of them?
I think you might have.
Okay. So it's pretty clever to put some of these movies out that you might be on the fence about, but putting them together, let's buy that, So,
sure.
And I think it's totally worth it. And I actually did admittedly enjoy going back and seeing it much more than I thought it would. So,
sure.
So anyway, so mild. They're both too mild. Like, look, these aren't great movies, but they're a little more fun than you might remember, given what we've been through up till now. They hold up better and had
This looked really good too. It looks really good.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, way better than anything because I think it was only on VHS before. So yeah. But let's get to our next official film real quick, Mr. Ben Harley.
Right,
we got 1946. Back where I'm happy. 1946. The Spiral Staircase.
Yes.
Yeah, classic Gothic mystery.
What do you call these, Tim? Old creaky,
old creaky haunted house movies and Gothic nonsense. So here's a real little short synopsis. Okay. In 1916, a shadowy serial killer is targeting women with afflictions. One night during a thunderstorm, the mute Helen feels menaced. Okay. That's really paring it down. But yes, let's see, Helen, the character played by Dorothy McGuire, gets sent, I believe, to take care of Ethel Barrymore, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Who was of the Barrymore family. And she was actually nominated for Best Supporting Actress in this film.
Really?
Yes, yes. So she was the crazy lady in the bed who I loved throughout the movie.
She's funny.
Yeah, she was really good. Let's see here. Of course, 1946. So we're talking about black and white, of course, and in that kind of film noir era where there lots of use of shadows and things like that. Let's see. We have, again, Dorothy McGuire as Helen. She is playing a mute. Ethel Barrymore, Mrs. Warren, and a Kent Smith. Ben Harley from Cat People.
Oh,
was a Dr. Perry. He was Dr. Perry,
right,
Harold Hansen Pants. Type of guy. So, and it was directed by Robert Siodmak, who I didn't look it up. I don't know. I had to think is related to Kurt Siodmak. But Robert Siodmak directed Cobra Woman. So if you're looking for that. And also in this film is Elsa Lanchester, who you might know more as the Bride of Frankenstein. She was the maid. She was the maid. That was the Bride of Frankenstein.
Really?
Yes, she was also married to Charles Laughton. And Harley, before I hand this over to you, I'd like to say that my favorite character in this film was Carlton, the dog. What did you think of the spiral staircase, Mr. Ben Harley?
Timo, that's the first time I've seen Spiral Staircase.
Really? Is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I've heard of this film before, but I will have to say, at first, it took me I started it, and I was printing and stuff, and I was like, I must have missed something. And I went back and I watched like the first half of it again, and I don't know if it was just me or what, but I had a hard time figuring out what the bleep was going on. I don't know why. I just don't know why. Like, the first half of this film for me was like dry. I was like, oh God. But then it picked up. Mm-hmm. And I think the last half of this film really saved it for me. I enjoyed the last half. Started to understand a little bit more. And my thing is, it's hard for me sometimes with some of the older films, like the sound, like you're listening and you're like, man, I got to turn this up so I can hear it. And then something happens in the film and you have about a 2-minute period where you get the orchestra going and stuff, and it is loud. I'm like, man, people probably think, or someone thinks I'm probably back here murdering somebody.
Or you're really into dark classical music, right?
Something, because like there's women screaming and there's gothic music. I'm like, oh my God, but I have a hard time, and I just think my hearing's getting worse too.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
But I have to strain to hear stuff sometimes, and I for some reason I don't know if I was missing something. But the first half of this film kind of was lost to me. But then I started to kind of figure out a little bit more. And all right, these guys are all family, and they're there. That's their mom. Okay, I get it. I'm like, because at first I was like, is this a cop? Is this more of like a police drama or? Who done it type thing, or are we looking more of a horror, and then I just kind of, and I think it had a little bit of everything.
It did.
Like that, which I started to appreciate a little bit more towards the end. My problem sometimes with some of these films, if they get too many characters going, I tend to lose. And I feel bad because a lot of these guys back then too, dressed a lot the same hats, same jackets, same tie, and then the black and white, I'm like, and then same haircut. And I'm like, oh, this guy has a mustache, so I know who he is. But this guy, does that make sense to you? I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I like Carlton so much. Carlton really stood out to me. I thought he was handsome. I liked him. Yeah, I liked Carlton a lot.
But I don't know. You probably can explain a little bit better about what the heck was going on.
Well, this is.
I did like the last half hour was riveting to me. It really was.
Right. Apparently the guy, I won't say the murderer was, but the murderer's father had a real thing against people with afflictions and things like that. And it kind of affected the son. So yes, it is a serial killer who's going after people who have a handicap of some sort. The Dorothy McGuire character is mute, which is interesting. She's mute psychologically. It's not like a physical thing or whatever. And yeah, so then it becomes gothic. So yeah, there's a gothic. It kind of reminds me of Dementia 13. Which is a later Francis Ford Coppola film. Actually, I named one of the bands I was in after it. Dementia 13. But it's got this people coming back. The old woman's, frail, and they're kind of the Adoring Heirs. Another thing I read, another band I named kind of was, there's a bunch of Adoring Heirs around her, kind of waiting. You don't know if they're waiting for her to kick or trying to help her. You can't tell. And the doctor, which doctor's giving her the poison, which doctor's giving her the medicine, and stuff.
See, there was too many doctors. I was lost.
Yeah. So basically, so basically, Ethel Barrymore plays like the great character who she's not as stupid. She's not quite as sick as she's letting on, and she's got something up her sleeve, as it were. So I really like her
she knows
character.
about the murder. She knows. She's like, you don't have to tell me. I already know.
She goes, I know everything. Yeah, which is crazy. Here's something interesting for you. Joan Crawford wanted to play the Dorothy McGuire part, the mute part.
Really?
Yeah, and she even owned the rights to this story. Okay,
really?
Yes. MGM head Louis B. Mayer did not agree and said, no more cripples or maimed women. Remember, this is 40s. That's what he said. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. Ooh. So but she definitely wanted to play. I think this is, first of all, and I'm not criticizing you, but first of all, this is not the kind of movie to watch while you're working. It's not because of how it is, because it is a gothic story. So you have to kind of understand who the people are a little bit, get into like some of the things that are going on, and then all of a sudden it just goes crazy. And that's kind of what happens. Now,
it was hard for me to build up on or the setup on this movie for some reason, but some movies do that to me.
Right. Now, when I was a child, believe it or not, I was obsessed with this film. Okay?
Oh, really?
I loved it, and they did a remake in 1975 with Jacqueline Bisset and Christopher Plummer in it. And now this movie played on like HBO and stuff. The 75 one did. So I really liked the 75 one. I thought it was really scary. I was pretty little, okay, but I thought it was really scary, and I knew it was a remake. Don't ask me how I know this stuff. I would find this stuff out, and so I tracked down. I remember watching the original one and enjoying it almost as much as the remake, and they were very similar.
Okay,
I remember them being very similar. So it is a bit of a childhood movie. Do I talk about it? No. I don't talk about it very much. It's a Spiral Staircase. Right. It's an old 40s gothic noir movie, basically. Yeah. Creaky, the old creaky ghost house movies. But you know what? It's really done well and classy. And Ethel Barrymore, you just want to stand up, right? At the end and cheer.
That's awesome.
She's great in it. So I'm going to give this film a grape ape up. I'm going to give it a big grape ape, not to the rafters, but I'm going to give it a big grape ape up. Partially for the nostalgia of it, but it kept me awake. I mean, I kept watching it going, I enjoyed this. Now, I didn't remember the film very well, but I knew immediately who the killer was. As soon as he showed up on screen, I knew immediately who he was, and it was funny. I was like, okay. And all the red herrings they throw at you after him didn't affect me whatsoever. But I just enjoyed it. It was just my kind of movie. It was well written, well acted, directed, everything. I enjoyed it. It holds up, I think, pretty good. It's a decent story. It's not super unique anymore. But at the time, I think with the thing with the disabilities and stuff, I think it had a unique twist to it. So great ape up for me. Big grape ape up.
Yeah, Tim, I'm not, I'm definitely not on the fence. I did like it. I just think for some reason I had a hard time with this movie. And, usually with me, when we're doing these, I know the setups and everybody, and I know sometimes you refer to me about now but this one for some reason I had a hard time with this at the beginning. But I think I missed the fact because I thought he was like some kind of he was just killing people with his mind. Because they should, So okay, but I think what saved the movie really for me though is the ending because it does have great actors in it. It is, and there's a couple like real creepy moments too with, and you feel bad for the girl who's mute, like because there's some creepy characters in,
right?
But not like overt creep or overly creepy. Just they're just weird. So a couple people.
Well, when she tries to use the phone and forgets she can't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some cool stuff like because at the setup there right at the end, it's like just the setup of the scene, the shadows and the way the guy put the chair and the way the chair was positioned behind her, behind a wall that was casting a shadow, and the way that the phone was casting a shadow down. It was just, I liked it. I said I liked the last like half hour of this film really saved it for me. I enjoyed it thoroughly, but I'm going to give it another just mild grape ape up because I think a lot of it had to do with me a little bit more. I think it's one I should probably maybe go back and watch by myself. But I still think it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
As far, especially as of one of these older films, I still think it is good. Mm-hmm. I think it was a little talky for me at first, and that's my problem sometimes. And here I'm, I'm a bad listener sometimes, Tim.
No, it is a movie. It's not like Destroyer, a total print and watch type of movie. But Spiral Staircase, no, you got to kind of invest a little bit more in it. So I can kind of see where if you were a little lost, it was, it was a little something. I would suggest I'll accept your mild, lukewarm grape bait, but I would suggest go back and watch it sometime in a dark night when you got nothing else to look at. It's like I'm gonna try this again. I think it might creep you out a little bit more. I think you might enjoy it a little bit more. So, but all right, let's get out of here because we're running long here, and I don't know what we're doing next week, but it's going to be approximately 7 days from now, so we'll know then, right? So
that's right. It'll be riveting.
Exactly. So until next week, stay spooky, and we'll talk to you then.
Keep it creepy, people.
You've been listening to the Timo and Harley Show, brought to you by ScreenPrintingFactory.com, your affordable one-stop solution to all your screen printing needs.